talk about all of it in order to answer one question. Um, okay, so um, the uh, primary title in while we were working on the Shakeology was the missing link. That's how I like to call it, because it is basically the intent that Darren and I and the team had to provide you with what we thought were the crucial elements that your bodies needed in order to function well and be vital. By vital, mean get all the essential in order to have energy to live well, to deal with stress, to handle sleepless nights, handle sick kids in work, handle events that are challenging, handle crazy vacation a week long of eating bad, drinking a lot, and not sleeping, on and on. Handle 80 days obsession, P90X. So any kind of stressors that would create inflammation and create a demand for the nutrients that your body needs to heal and be well and get stronger even, those were the missing links that we intended to create this shake for. It was not just protein. Do we have protein in the shake? Of course, good amount of protein, potent, clean protein. Same thing with fiber, because we need this for repair. We need it for bone, ligament, tendons. We need it when we work out. It's the amino acids that we require as well. So those are also essential elements that we need in life. But protein was not the big scary thing that we knew people had a hard time to get enough of. Protein, most people get plenty of it. So of course we include it because it's part of what you need in a right balance, as well as fiber, which is part of the gut health ingredients that we put in there as well. But if it was just protein, that's quite simple. We have it, it's much cheaper, and we could do it and add our protein to the dozens and dozens of protein out there. It'd be a great protein. I'd have no problem with that. But protein was not our fear. What we are afraid of nowadays, our concern, I should say, our awareness, is the fact that the nutrients that your body needs desperately in order to be well are growing thin. They are disappearing. Their quality, their integrity, their potency, their bioavailability are becoming non-existent. It is very challenging to get something that is all the constituents, all the chemicals within the botanicals or the phytonutrients, the protein even, all the fruits, all the chemicals within the elements that you want, because your body is of these elements. We are of the earth. We need all these things. It's growing on planet Earth because our bodies also need those things. So these elements are becoming more and more challenging to get, so that what is in it by the time it is powdered and delivered to your doors. But what's not wanted is not in it, so that you are not loaded with GMO, with herbicide, pesticides, and on the list goes. In order to do that, we need intelligent, credible, experienced talent, which is our R&D team. We need the technical machines, the tools, to be able to extract or remain that purity, that bioavailability, and yet be able to make sure to not have any of the other bad stuff that pollutes your bodies. So that is not cheap. The talent is not cheap. The traveling all around the world in order to test the soil, in order to make sure that the water that is used for the soil does not contaminate the soil. If we check at the open pods element that are growing, the open pods will absorb the pollution in the air. So if your soil is stamped organic, but the air is highly polluted, you get all these elements in your food as well. So you receive the ingredients. It is technically organic, but once you test, you realize it's not. So something in the alchemy of what is required to have a clean, potent plant, a botanical, all of them, is not kosher there. You do not know that because the stamp just says the soil is organic. The only way we know that is because we test for it. And that is money because we have to test the soil. We meet the farmers. We make sure their integrity is there. The vendor, the supplier meeting, asking the right question, looking at their facilities, testing after it's been harvested, tested once it's landing here in our facilities, testing what after it's quarantined, and then test again every batch that you get to make sure that that little scoop of powder is loaded with your antioxidants, your phytonutrients, your pre and probiotics, your digestive enzyme, your clean protein, your carbs, your fiber, all of those things, all that we want and none of what we don't want. That's the money part. And that just is not possible without money. You've got to pay all these people, all the traveling, the extra time that it takes to have a face-to-face meeting, not just a phone call of 15 minutes. Is it organic? Yeah, cool. Can I have a whole bunch of it? Right? So not only that, but events and things happens, and I won't get into the details of all the events that could happen, but basically you can have a maca that was wonderful for a year, for 6 months, for a year and a half, and then suddenly it starts testing terrible. We try to get a reason, we can't get a reason. So what do? We have to stop being supplied by this particular vendor. But we have monthly shipping that are required. So the crazy urgent work that needs to be done to find a new place, still do all the testing. And that event happens over and over again throughout our years of being in the business. So it's not a rare thing that happens just once in a while, or perhaps an element will become absolute. For all the reason I mentioned, we just can't get it clean. So we have to stop putting that ingredients in the shake, look for the constituents with it, that element, try to find it somewhere else. Sometimes it's one element. Sometimes we have to put two different botanical together to replace that one. This is why one of the things I asked of Carl before I agreed to partnership and hire Darren and ask our team to do all that work is don't force me to make that shake an immovable element. It has to be flexible. It has to move. I have to be allowed to change so that I don't have to lie to my customer, which happens a lot because it's a big deal when it happens, especially when you're committed to monthly delivery. So here's your money. Here's the difference between a protein drink and our shake, which has the protein, but it's not a protein drink. It has your phytonutrients, your antioxidants, your adaptogen mushrooms and herbs, your botanicals, your gut health system of all these enzymes and all the elements I just mentioned. All of that is what we're trying to feed you. Your daily dose of dense nutrition is accurate. It's not a sell pitch. It's well said, it's gimmicky, it's easy to remember, but it's the truth. So what we're saying is we're going to give you a 30-day money-back guarantee because this stuff you need every day. You don't drink a glass of water on Monday and say, I'm good now. I had my 64 ounces on Monday. I can have Coke all week long. You don't brush your teeth in the morning and say, you know what, I'll take a few days off. Daily, you need to do that daily. These elements are required from your systems on a daily basis. We don't know if you're going to get it, and we can get into that conversations, but for all sorts of reasons, we don't know if you're going to be able to have that daily dose of dense nutrition. So we said, let's try to create a shake that will assure them that at least once a day, they have it. That's the difference. Does that make sense?
Yes, for sure. And I know we have new coaches on here. I know some people may not have realized that we actually travel to the farms and make sure everything is ethically sourced. And
it's not just Darren flying around. It's dozens of experts that have the pedigrees, the understanding, knowing what to look for, how to test, what questions to ask. That's a business. You have to know the dozens and dozens of questions to ask to see if there's something that's not right and you need to investigate more before you commit. Darren and I don't have that training. These guys do. We know what we want. We know what we don't want. But they do that investigation. And that requires the real deal. Can't pretend through that one.
Perfect. So I guess my next question is, like, we obviously get people that say, I would rather eat my food. But I know you say like Shakeology is a whole food. So how do we explain that to somebody? Like when they come back and say, no, I want to eat my food.
Well, I don't want you guys to not eat your food. I feel like because I'm asking them if they want to try Shakeology, for all the reasons I mentioned, I'm not saying I want you to stop eating. So it's not either or. But the reason why we created that is, and that goes back to my own experience in life, is that as I already explained, it is very challenging to know what you're getting nowadays. Very challenging. You know, your corn, your soy, your sugar beets, beet sugar, on and on it goes, are GMO. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that are GMO, but legally you don't have to know. And we tried to vote to know. Some people didn't care much. So there's all sorts of stuff that is now in your food. There's over 100 chemicals in the air everywhere that you're breathing now that you didn't breathe 100 years ago. You know, if you're not very picky of where you get your lettuce and your vegetable, you really don't know what you're getting. You know, I used to use mom and pop's products back in the days when I was doing shake and serum for my clientele. It was hard to know really what I was getting. And now that I have this team testing, I get it. So often, it's just full of stuff that you don't want. So we do our best, we buy organic, but we don't really know, I think, the extent of the corruption of the system and what's happening to our world. So you don't have to believe me. You can research that. And because of that, I eat organic all the time. I read every single thing I buy. Most of the stuff is fresh, not in a can. I have my own garden, and I drink the Shakeology. And I did that way before I had Shakeology. I still knew that the level of stress, the rhythm of life, the quality of our food, of our water, on top of that, more and more, the EMF, as I discussed on stage and at the summit, I don't know if you guys were there, that's the real deal too. You will see more and more research coming out in the decade to come that it's a real pollutant. It really messes up your electrical system. You are magnetic electrical within your system. The way your body functions, Google it, search it, is fascinating. That system is being made incoherent within your body, never before, through these EMF that are also electrical. And we are bombarded by it right now, our phone, all a little gadget that now it's not enough to be hooked and addicted to this phone where you can't even go shop for grocery without it. Oh God, for a second, if you lost like a text, you know, it's like now we have these things on our wrist and we have to count our steps and like this insanity, this rhythm of life and these non-existent needs to this machine is creating tension on many levels. So more and more you need your daily dose of dense nutrition. I know it. I wanted it. And the reason why I stand behind it is because I'm intimately connected to the process of making it. And I wanted it because I knew it's hard for me to know really honestly what I was getting from the outside world. I was blessed. I could do it. My husband asked, so I can create that. It's my way of giving back. It's from experience of having very ill, very scared, very clueless, very lost, and finding my way through these elements. So it's not some textbook or some bestseller on Amazon and it sounded really cool. And I was like, let me try to make a thing. It's from deep, profound experiences with deep, profound changes in my life. These elements are in there. And my partner, Darren, also lived that reality. So we created this from our own experiences, the same way that we're asking you to share your stories, because that's your truth. Nobody can fight you on that. Debate your truth. Debate what you've been through. That's real. And you can feel when something is real. And this is why we always, and Carl always, mention trust your stories. This is why we want you to go through a program, drink Shakeology, know how it feels for you and how it has helped you. And that's your truth. So you are the extension of what I do and have done my whole life, way before I was here on this platform. This is the real deal. So it's a no-brainer to me. And all that I say, you can literally tape it and then type it, and you'll see that I'm not the only one, thank God, saying those things, not just Darren and I, but many, many, many individuals throughout the last few decades have said the same thing and came to the same conclusion of a deep need for dense nutrition, cellular nutrition, the things that your cells need in order to be well and be stressed. Does that make sense?
Definitely. Thank you. I think a couple people maybe wonder, or we get questions sometimes because people see organic cane sugar now and they're like, there's sugar in it. Can you?
Well, it goes back to the protein thing. If we just had a protein drink, which is amino acid, there'd be no sugar. It's very easy that way. Now we have fruit and vegetable, which inherently have sugar. An apple, 19 gram, I think. A banana, 14 gram. This is why we give you that example to sort of recenter you in your understanding of natural sugar. So if a banana has, let's say, 14 gram, an apple, 19, that's just one fruit. You don't grab the apple from your kid's mouth and say, don't you dare eat that apple. There's sugar. You understand that it's a natural sugar. It's loaded with vitamins and minerals and chemicals that is good for us. So it's the same thing with the Shakeology. We have 60 plus ingredients in this shake, 60 plus, including tons of vegetable, botanicals, and fruits. Of course, there's natural sugar. The fact that we were able to limit it to 4 gram or 3 gram and added 3 or 4 gram of organic cane sugar, 3 or 4 gram of organic cane sugar, not brown sugar, which is still chemically white processed sugar with molasses for colors, not table sugar, which is terrible for you, stripped of any nutrients for money. It's like when you think of honey, you don't think, oh, honey is bad. It's a plant. So we found an organic source that we were proud of, and we needed to round the sweetness of the shake, because if you just try to eat shaga, have a scoop of that, or moringa on its own, try as an experiment at home to buy 3 or 4 of these things separately and try to eat them. Wow, what a wake-up call it will be. We have 60 plus elements that we need to synergistically make work and taste good without loading it with sugar. So our way was to put stevia, 150 times sweeter than sugar, a plant, Luang Hao, a plant, monk fruit, that is 300 times sweeter than sugar, and some organic cane sugar to round up the sweetness and make it palatable for you guys to want to reach for Shakeology. Because if something is gross, it's going to be very hard to make you have your daily dose of dense nutrition every day. So that was our best shot right now at delivering this 60 plus stuff that's bitter, sour, all sorts of different flavors in your mouth, but make it taste good. We think we did pretty darn good, and we think 7-8 grams of that kind of blend of sugar is not a big deal. Now, if you had all these botanicals, all these vegetables and fruits, and somehow there's 0 sugar in there, you must ask the question, why? What kind of fruit is in there? what kind of vegetable is in there. Their technology that, like, you have to try to ask you very often their chemical sugar in these drinks. So to us, no preservative, no bad sugar, natural sugar with these plant-based sugar to have a sweet, delicious taste. We did a fantastic job. So I don't have a problem with our sugar blend. I hope that helped you be at peace with it and understand that it's very little sugar, especially that it's combined with a good amount of protein and a good amount of fiber to slow down the sugar within your system.
That's perfect. Thank you. Next question. When it says oats and then in brackets gluten, I know there's no wheat in it, but can you explain that a little bit?
Yes, it's we have that answer everywhere on our platform, just so you know, guys. Just please go and read. I have a perfect, thorough statement, but I'm going to try to make it super simple. Basically, we take all the precaution to make sure, we can't make sure, to do the best that we can possibly do to make sure there's no gluten or, you know, I know legally I can't say make sure, but we do the best that we can to avoid gluten in our products. So we clean the facility we break apart all the equipment, clean it up, put it back between each of our own product, our own batches. We take all precaution, but in order to have the certification gluten-free, you have to make sure that the facility, the whole facility, even though it's creating other products beside our own, is not allowed to do any gluten, which means that the facility has to commit to only us and trust that we'll always bring the money they need to stay in business. Do you get the trickiness? It's hard because of the volume. We're not a small company. So with the kind of volume, the kind of facility we need, it's not a little tiny facility, and they have other businesses. We can't guarantee it because when you have the stamp, that's what you have to guarantee. So we can't guarantee it. We do the best that we can. If I had time, I don't want to take time away from our 30 minutes to look into my statement because I didn't have that question on my thing. I would have prepared it. But please go read. It is on our platform in the FAQ. So this is why if somebody is highly allergic, that maybe just because it's around on the second floor, they'll still react. And that does exist. I'm not making fun of that at all. Then we say, if you're too scared, don't do it. This is why we're so upfront with this. Many products are like that on the market right now, because this is a tricky thing to say yes. We basically have that facility just for our products. Does that make a little bit of sense?
Yeah, I think I was just curious as to why instead of it saying like may contain or produced in a facility, it says oats and bracket gluten. So I think sometimes people...
Maybe it's a phrasing, it's a legal phrasing.
Yeah.
I could ask a question to my lawyers and get back to you. No, but really what she probably wants to know is, is it gluten-free or not? So that's the answer. Now I can tell you that I'm not allergic, but highly intolerant of gluten. So there's some products, not in my line, but in other lines that I can't really have because it has oat. So I feel that is a great chance that if you're sensitive, you might do very well with it because of all the precautions we take. And I always say, if you just, like me, highly reactive, but not allergic. There's so many levels of that. You do those tests and some people can have it every other day. Some it's once a week, some it's every 3 days. But you start a third of a scoop or even less if you're scared, a few tablespoons with some water, and you wait 3 full days after, because it takes 3 days for your body to clear it and process it and react from it. And if there's nothing, you can try a little bit more. And so you inch your way to a full scoop. Then if you do a full scoop, you can wait a whole week if you want. And you start testing if you do well with the shake. Because if you have zero reaction, then you can get all the benefits from it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Can I ask a question about the Shakeology boosts?
Sure, I love those.
Okay, so at what point is some, like, for Power Greens, when would we recommend that if they are drinking Shakeology and getting their vitamins in and everything?
Yeah. Once again, it's Darren and I were very excited about the boost because once again, and of course you all know Carl, but he's so much better now. Soon I won't be able to use him as an example. Getting so good. I think he's better than I sometimes. Often. Um, so someone that doesn't like greens, if they have a little bit of salad, a little bit of veggies here and there with their steak or their chicken, they'll be very happy they did. But really, how much you need is so much more than what most people eat. Kids for sure, right? Um, so your idea of what's enough and the reality of what's enough is usually very, very different. There's also, like I said, the binge drinking, the partying, the going out, the vacation, the indulgence in and out, and the running around and not really sitting and eating. So very often, if you're really honest about how much green you have in your diet, you realize you're lacking what you should be getting. Therefore, you're lacking the antioxidants and phytonutrients and fiber from it. So we just wanted to give you the power to understand what your day or your week is like and really be able to be your own formulator. When Carl goes and has margarita and goes to Mexican, I do notice that he has more green, scoops of green, and his fiber and lots of water. You can put it in a shake or separately, but it's really to make you aware of what you need personally. We did the best that we could for the shake. Darren and I wanted 5 grams of fiber, but some people really reacted. It was too much for them right off the bat. But you have the fiber boost that if you start with the shake, your stomach gets used to it, starts clearing and, being more regular, you can start adding more because we fall way short, once again, of the amount of fiber, especially with the whole craze of protein and keto diet and stuff, very little fiber. So you can, according to how you eat, what you need on a daily basis, decide what you need extra of. So for me, 3 grams, I want at least 5 when I do my shake. I do a scoop of fiber. I add half an avocado, and I have a scoop of green. That's my base of my Shakeology because I need that. But not everybody does or can start there. So it's to allow you to be your own best healer, basically, to start giving you control of what you need the most of, depending on what your week is like. Again, does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Last question. We have like 3 minutes left.
I can add too.
Okay. Do you have anything that you haven't mentioned, or maybe you want to tell the team like about the serums that you created in the past, or a little bit of history about?
Sure, because you have new coaches, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So hi, I'm Isabelle. I'm the co-creator of Shakeology and all the elements under the Ultimate line on the Beachbody platform with my friend and buddy and coworker Darren O'Lean. So, and our team that don't get enough exposure. So my experience back in my life is that in my early 20s, I got very ill. Even though I was not a junk food eater, I didn't drink soda, didn't drink coffee. I was a track and field coach. I was a nutritionist, a sports psychologist. I was always active in my youth. For 15 years, I was a classical dancer, like really in a school that you do 8 hours of dance. So, I was not a couch potato by any means, eating potato chips and Twinkies at night. I thought I had it under control. I also thought I was pretty healthy emotionally and psychologically. So I felt confident. This is why when I hear people say, I got it all, I don't need that. I eat my food and I eat well, I'm good. And I say, well, good luck. I've been there. In the course of 2 or 2.5 years, my health went down, declined radically. Doctors after doctors after doctors could not help me, didn't have any answer. I didn't fit into any category. And I ended up in a place where I lost all my clients, couldn't go to school, couldn't pay my loan, my school loan, couldn't pay my rent, was in pain, was scared, no family, alone, um, freaked out and depressed. And this is when I realized I had to go outside the box and figure out what was up with me, that nobody could help me. All they could do is put me on drugs without really knowing what I had, which scared the crap out of me. So I went to Eastern medicine. I went to Koreatown, to Chinatown, to American Indian. Um, I read more about the body, how it works, its function, not just the degrees that I got at school, but deep research. And I got in touch with gut health. All the people that I met that were kind enough to charge me very little, or sometimes not at all, or at least sit down with me, explain so much to me to get me on the track. I started healing myself through the very elements that are now in the shake. So like I said earlier, this is not just in my head. This is an experience that I've had where I was dead broke. I borrowed more money in order to get out of this state of illness, dis-ease, and